Hello. It is Flyers game day. Jason Martinez coming to you from the palatial home studio. Brian Smith, you are looking live at the press box in Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, correct?
Look live at warm-ups, maybe. Yeah, press box is pretty boring. There's warm-ups.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. We're nowhere. I'm not sure that we're anywhere near Raleigh. We're in the suburbs. The buildings in the
suburban arena.
suburbs. The hotel is even further in the suburbs. Not going to see Raleigh itself on this trip. Interesting spot for the arena, really. It's off of I don't know, like a 309 or a 202 or something like that, just without all the stuff. I don't know. It's off a highway.
So is it under construction like 309 and 202 always are?
Yes, it is. And you just turn into the property, and all of a sudden you're here. And apparently there's a football stadium hiding around here somewhere, too, that I haven't even seen from the parking lot of the arena. So I think that's behind the arena somewhere where they had the outdoor game last month. So it's an interesting setup out here. That's for sure. It's not your typical in-city arena.
Well, they are a darn good team.
They are.
I mean, to me, Smitty, they're one of these teams that I look at and I go, there's not a ton of like super high-end pieces there. Dougie Hamilton's gone. He moved on in free agency a couple of years ago. Sebastian Aho's a high-end piece. Svechnikov. They got some really good. Brent Burns is there now. Ghost is there now. They got some good pieces, but to me, they're a collective team. But they may be missing one key element to a Stanley Cup, and that may be goaltending.
It may be. It might be coming here. I don't know if how these guys are going to develop, anything like that. But the interesting thing that I took out of today, talking with John Tortorella when our group was talking with him, he referred to this team as the fastest team in the NHL, which is saying something. When you've got some of the guys you got out there, but as a team, it's apparently a pretty fast team. So that's something that the Flyers are going to have to deal with here tonight. And you could probably call this a less than optimal lineup for Philadelphia. Not that they'd probably rather take a look at some guys than put out their best lineup. Not that they could anyway, but Tyson Forster obviously going to make his debut tonight. So we'll see how this group handles it.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be an interesting element of this game because, Elliot Denoyer gets his call up, but he's already played now in 2 games in the NHL. On the season with Lehigh Valley, Denoyer's got 52 games played, 38 points, 20 goals, 18 assists. And then you look at Tyson Forster, who has yet to play an NHL game, was drafted back in 2020, Bri, in the first round, 23rd overall. 56 games played. He's got 38 points, 18 goals, and 20 assists. And he gets his debut tonight. You just sent me the video of him taking his rookie lap. Did he toe pick on the rookie lap? I haven't watched the video.
Nope. Graceful as can be.
That's good.
He's all good. That's going on Twitter now if you want to see it. I probably am not the only one that has it. But, he looks good out there. He's again, we see these guys a handful of times a year ahead of their NHL debuts. We've seen him at development camp. You see him a little bit at training camp, but he has definitely filled out a bit since he was drafted. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah.
He's probably not only put on some weight and muscle and all that, but I think he's taller than he was when the Flyers drafted him. So definitely has developed in that regard. And, this is one of the guys that John Tortorella was pretty eager to see. And the circumstances the Flyers are in right now are such that they could bring him up without using a regular recall. So we're going to get a look at him.
Yeah, these both fall into the category of emergency recalls because you have 2 players that are banged up in Brendan Lemieux and Wade Allison. It's my contention Alley is going to always be a player that's going to be banged up. He plays with such reckless abandon. He did. You know how they used to say when an NFL running back steps out of bounds instead of taking the hit for an extra like half a yard, that's a business decision.
True.
In a league, in the NFL is a league that's non-guaranteed contracts basically. and
Right.
a team can get rid of you and they can chew you up and spit you out. So that's a bit. But Allie doesn't play any shift like he's got a business decision on the horizon.
Nope. He is full out all the time. Walls be damned, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how close those boards are. He's going after it full tilt. So yeah, it's I'm not sure exactly what's wrong with those two guys. It doesn't seem like it's going to be long term, but again, the Flyers are not trying to close on a playoff spot. Those guys aren't. There aren't necessarily going to be the difference maker night in night out right now with this team. So it's a good chance for them to get a look at some guys. Again, without using those regular recalls up quite so quickly.
Yeah. And the other part of it, too, is that lend to the emergency, although they didn't call a D up because they've been carrying 7D, is that Tony DeAngelo for his spear to the, let's just say it's not where a man ever wants to get speared, even Corey Perry. That cost him 2 games. So he's going to be out tonight and Saturday in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he got one game for each bean.
Yep.
So
I think he got them both.
And again, he's on record saying that he didn't mean to hit him there. And the other mitigating stance, I think, was that it was Corey Perry. So it is what it is. I'm sure Tony would have liked to play here tonight. He was only here for the 1 year, obviously, but I'm sure he made some acquaintances here and stuff like that. So it's probably unfortunate for him that he has to miss this game. But John Tortorella said in his availability today, and I agree with him that it's the right move. The league did what they felt they needed to do, and it seemed appropriate given the overall circumstances. So that's just how it ends up.
And I got lucky on that one. I predicted 2 games on Flyers Daily the night after it happened, and I actually got one right. So hey, hey, that's 1 in a row for me.
Good job.
I get the golf clap.
Yeah. Want to see the back of the NC State retired numbers, by the way? These things are huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is. I mean, there's
Valvano up there. Jimmy V.
He is. He's behind, I think, the screen from where I'm sitting.
Okay.
But I mean, there's NC State banners here going back to 1950. So obviously they have a few more banners than the Hurricanes do. The Hurricanes banners are kind of under there. You can't really see them from where I'm at, but they got a fair share of banners for a team that's only been here for 25 years. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, and of course they won the cup, and great goaltending by Cam Ward in that year with Rod Brindamore on that team and Justin Williams and Rod Brindamore coaching that team right now. And boy, Brad, there's some teams that take on the identity of their coach, and I don't think it's one of those things where it's necessarily a choice. It's what John Tortorella is trying to do with the Flyers, take on that fire and brimstone, high standard identity. And I don't think it's a choice when you play for Rod Brindamore. It's either you kind of fall in line with his level of intensity. And I've seen, locker room speeches by him from pregame or in between periods, and he is so wound. I mean, you would think he's going to, you say you want the players to tear the door off the locker room. I think he tears it off.
Yeah.
He's intense.
And not only that, but you're talking about a guy that, played, what was that stupid number of consecutive games that he played for the Flyers? 480, wasn't it? Yeah, something really high. So hardly ever missed a game. And he was, year in, year out while he was a Flyer for 10 years was absolutely the most fit player coming into camp every single year. Would win the fitness testing, all that stuff. So, just what we know about him as a player when he was with the Flyers, that translates, I'm sure, into his coaching and what he expects from his team.
The way he played too, like there's certain guys when they play, you go, oh, I could see this guy being a coach. And when he played, you go, oh, I could see this guy being a coach. For the Flyers, he ended up playing 633 games over 9 seasons. The only organization he played more for was actually Carolina, where he was for 10 years. I mean, geez, this guy played 1,484 regular season games over 20 years, mind you. He
Yeah.
ended up with 1,100, or wait, let me see here. Okay, I just want to make sure I get that right. 1,184 points. And boy, he played the game the right way. Talk about an honest player. He was an honest player. And
Yep.
he's only 52, and boy, he still looks like he could play. He is still as fit as they come. So,
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he came in to Philadelphia. It was one of those deals where it's like I don't know that a lot of people had heard of him. He'd only been in the league for 2 years, and he was playing in St. Louis, which wasn't exactly they were a playoff team, but they weren't exactly knocking the doors down in the late '80s. And I forget if he came over for Dan Kordick. I don't know why that name's in my head. I could be completely wrong about that. I think Mike Bullard might have been there too. I don't know, but
wow.
he had quite a pickup, and again, he did not miss a game. I'm just looking at it here. It doesn't look like he missed a game from the 1993-94 season all the way through 1998-99. So that's 6 consecutive years he didn't miss a single game.
That's incredible. Was an All-Star one year in 1992, I think so. And he's got his team. Yeah. Carolina on the year. Now, this team is leading the Metropolitan Division. 62 games played, 42 dubs, 12 losses, 6 overtime losses, and 92 points. They're 4 points up on New Jersey, who are the second place team in the division. And there's something I just can't figure out here about this last 10 stat on ESPN.com. They're 7-2-0 in their last 10. That's only 9 games.
Unless it's
somebody's got to get on that.
Oh, yeah.
But they won 5 straight games. They lost 2, both by a score of 3-2. They lost to Anaheim 3-2 at home. And then since that Vegas lost 3-2 on March 1st, they've rattled off 3 straight. They beat Arizona 6-1 on the road. They beat Tampa last weekend 6-0. Way to go. Primed them for the Flyers. And then Montreal, they just beat on Tuesday night 4-3 in the shootout. And they have the Flyers tonight, and they have one more game on their homestand. Flyers have this game, the final game of a 3-game road trip. Will be in Pittsburgh, Saturday 3:30 on ABC, and then they'll return home for a 7-game homestand beginning next week. So, in this game tonight too, Brian, one of the storylines is obviously Denoyer coming in, Forster coming in, no Tony DeAngelo, but we get a rare occurrence tonight, and that is a start for Felix Sandstrom. We have not seen Felix a whole heck of a lot of late. Of course, they called up Sam Harrison, and he got the bulk of the playing time while he was up, and Sandstrom was basically relegated to being the third goaltender. But since Harrison's gone back down and he didn't have to clear waivers to do so, the backup has been Felix Sandstrom. Now, he hasn't played a whole heck of a lot, but he's going to get the start tonight in a very tough building. Matter of fact, it's where Sam Harrison got his first NHL start and gave up 5 out of the chute, but came back in. Yeah. But Felix Sandstrom has not played a game, Bri, since the 12th of February. We're sitting here now on the 9th of March.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the things you kind of got to avoid in this situation. But, when they asked Torts about it this morning, why this game, it's just, this is the game that Kim Dillabaugh kind of ID'd as the game to give him. So, he doesn't worry about it too much past that. So, they just, we were talking about it lately, like, when are you going to get him in? When do you get him in? Well, they decided that this was going to be it. And, then they'll come back on Saturday afternoon with Carter, and then, have a couple of days off going into the homestand. I'm sure they'll ID a couple other games during that homestand that he's going to want to get. There is, the back-to-back in there on the 17th and 18th, which is a shortened back-to-back, 7 p.m. to 5 p.m. start. So you can bet that he'll probably get well, yeah. So it's a little bit of an odd situation there.
You can connect now, by the way. I'm being told by our producer back at the station. Anthony and Cuz's Corner has ended, although we can continue the Cuz's Corner right here. We're not going to do that. Matt, our producer, wants me to continue the show as Anthony. And Anthony blew out his Achilles tendon.
What?
I blew out my Achilles tendon.
Oh no, Matt, can you hear me?
I can hear him like reciting all the Greek gods. You got your Archimedes.
Thanks.
I know he can't hear me right now, otherwise he'd probably kill me. We're going to get to the line combination coming up once we join our radio audience in about 2 minutes' time. And warm-up still going underway down there, Bri?
They are fully warmed up.
They are
Welcome
fully warmed up.
Welcome to the Twin Olympias here.
Oh,
Not the Xanadu, but the Olympias. I don't know how Olympia makes its foray into certain buildings in this league, but they're in full force here in Raleigh.
You'd think they'd have a NASCAR Zamboni down there.
You would think, yes, or I don't know, college football tailgate, golf cart, something like that.
Yeah, that would be very appropriate.
It's pretty neat here. You see over here, they've got this open area at the top of one end where you can just kind of hang out, and they've got a restaurant sponsor there, all that good stuff. This is I don't know how old I forget how old this building is, but it's certainly 90s somewhere in there, and it's held up pretty well over time. They've got a lot of neat special seating arrangements and some suites and stuff like that. So.
Well, it's going to be the Flyers in Raleigh tonight to take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Felix Sandstrom gets the start and is still just stuck on that one win this year. I mean, it was all the way back on the 8th of November. It feels like an eternity ago when the Flyers beat St. Louis 4-1. Since then, he had the loss against Dallas. He had a loss in overtime against Washington where there was too many men on the ice. The loss against Pittsburgh, a loss against the Islanders on the road, a loss against Colorado on the road, then the home loss to Winnipeg, and the last one was Seattle for Felix Sandstrom. And he signed a 2-year deal in the offseason. And so he's a guy that can come back next year, obviously. All right, we're getting ready to join our radio audience here. And we'll do that here momentarily. Take off those headphones. That's right. It is Flyers Game Day brought to you by Betway. Jason Martinez, Brian Smith from down in Raleigh as the Flyers are getting set to take on the Metropolitan Division leading Carolina Hurricanes. A very good team last year, Bri. They had a great season. Problem is getting out of that darn East with the Tampa Bay Lightning hanging around every year. But Carolina looking to punch their ticket a little bit further this year. Do you know who's in goal for them tonight, Bri? Do we know if is that going to be Freddie Anderson? Is it Antti Raanta or Kochetkov?
I think it's that guy.
Right? I don't have Brian, so
I don't have anybody either.
We'll get that answer at the appropriate time. He is on the road, and we're connecting and disconnecting as quickly as we can. Felix Sandstrom will get start for the Flyers. His numbers on the season, Sandstrom. I was just going through the win-loss record. It's not great from that standpoint. He's got just the one win this season, hasn't played a game since the 12th of February, and only played one other game since the calendar turned to the new year. And 11 games played, he's got it's Kochetkov. Tim Saunders text me. Thank you, Timmy. 11 games played, 1 goal, 1 win, 8 losses, 1 tie, and he has I'm trying to. This thing's getting goofy on me. 3.52 goals against average and an 880 save percentage. So Sandstrom versus Kochetkov in this game tonight. Flyers going to have their hands full again with a team that's got really good special teams. You look at this Carolina team. When you go through all the different elements that make a team good, and you can check. Some good teams can check a box or two. Right? This can check a lot of boxes because when you get goals for per games played in the NHL, 7th at 3.42. Goals allowed per games played. This is a team right near the top there as well. Number 2, only the Bruins give up less. They give up 2.52. How about the power play? It's at 21.8%. And that is, a pretty darn good power play as well. 13th in the NHL. You look at the PK for this team, 83.6. And that is good for tied first in the NHL. They're just a solid hockey team. And the Flyers going to have a lot to deal with the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. You don't want to put them on the power play. If they take a penalty and you're on the power play, and the Flyers power play obviously has been a huge issue. When you look at a lack of efficiency, Flyers at just 15.4% Now, on power play number 2 tonight, word is that Tyson Forster, I think we have Brian Smith now, Tyson Forster is going to be on power play number 2. Do we have Brian? And we have Brian now. Okay. And with Forster on PP2, one of the reasons why he's drafted in the first round, Smitty, is that shot. And he likes to set up in that Ovechkin spot. And it is a bomb. Can I get more Brian, please? As an underage. Yeah, and injuries and the pandemic staggered the path to the NHL for a lot of those first rounders. And with him, I think it's really interesting because I've talked to so many guys that get a game or a couple of games or whatever it might be. You look at it and you go, okay, they'll get a couple of games at the end of the season and call up, and then they go off season, and they all say the help that it gives them going into an offseason to know what it feels like to play in an NHL game, to take that into your training and all of that. I think that's an enormous thing. I'm glad he's getting in tonight. I don't know how many games he's going to play of this, final 18, but I hope he gets at least a couple so he can take the knowledge of what it feels like to play in an NHL game, apply it to his training and preparation next year, come in next year in camp, knock the door down and be an NHL player. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to look back further than when the Phantoms won the Calder Cup with Richards and Carter. I mean, how much that helped them make the jump as well. Yeah, and that's a lockout year too. The Phantoms do have a 3-3 this weekend, so see if these guys hang around for the weekend in Pittsburgh on Saturday. I mean, 3 games in 3 days. That's the AHL in a nutshell. The other thing is, let's look at the lines for this game because I think that John Tortorella and Forster's first game put him in a good position here. The first line, Frost, Farabee, and Tippett. And we'll talk about Farabee again in a minute. But the second line is Noah Cates, Scott Laughton, and Tyson Forster. 2 very responsible guys on all 3 zones in Cates and Laughton to play with Forster. I'll let him play a little bit more free of mind. And Torch said today, Bri, said, I don't say a lot to these guys. We talk about some, elemental things and how we run things. We don't want to overload them. But I want them to go out there, not think too much, go out and play. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Go out there and play. Yep. Bingo. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way of going about it. Denoye is going to center in his third NHL game. James Van Riemsdyk and Kevin Hayes. Tanner Lazinski going to center the fourth line with Nick Delaurier and Kiefer Bellows draws back in. Here's your D pairs: Sanheim with Ristolainen, Provorov with York on the right side, obviously. Sealer with Braun, and Felix Sandstrom gets the start in net for the Flyers versus Kochetkov. And the Flyers get a tough task at hand here tonight. Good team to make your debut against, I guess. And you get right into it and play one of the best teams in the National Hockey League, the second best team points percentage in the league. And Bill Meltzer just texted me and said, Carolina, the number one puck possession team in the NHL. So no easy task here. It is the Flyers and the Canes. But we've got Tim Saunders, Steve Coates in Raleigh for the countdown to face-off, followed by all the first period action. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day, brought to you by Betway on the Flyers Broadcast Network.